Hello and welcome to Worldview at the Hindu with me, Suhasini Haider. This week, as US and NATO troops race for the exit door, what will the future of Afghanistan be? We have a very special guest on the show.
US defence officials say the last remaining American and NATO troops have left the Bagram military air base in Afghanistan and handed it over to Afghan forces.
Now, as the US completes its pullout of about 3,500 troops, in fact, officials say all but a few hundred could be left there in a matter of weeks. NATO countries like Germany and Italy have also completed their pullout of troops as well. And violence levels are just increasing as the Taliban takes over and steps up its takeover, really, of provinces, taking as many as 50 districts out of Afghanistan's 370 just since May. According to a UNAMA report, the UN agency in Afghanistan, civilian casualties have increased 29% in the first quarter of 2021 compared to last year. Women casualties increased by 37%, child casualties by 23%. The talks processes in Doha and one proposed in Istanbul by the US are now floundering as the Taliban seems to be seeing what they think is victory coming closer. According to reports, even India, that had stayed away from this, has opened a channel to the Taliban, which is now seen quite clearly as a key figure in the future of Afghanistan's polity. So the question, will Afghanistan's security forces be able to stop the Taliban advance to Kabul on their own? And what does this mean for the democratically elected Ghani government and some of the freedoms, the security of minorities and women in particular that had been put in place before? Are there any red lines for the Afghan leadership on how much violence they are prepared to endure at the hands of the Taliban and other groups? Afghanistan's former president, Hamid Karzai, still a power figure in the country, says he has a renewed mission for talks with the Taliban and regional countries, including Pakistan. And in this exclusive interview to The Hindu this week, he spoke about all of these issues. I began by asking him why he feels that the West has let Afghanistan down by leaving after 20 years and what could have been done differently.
My views were and are that there was no terrorism in Afghanistan and no extremism in Afghanistan. And that when the United States and its allies, after the tragedy of September 11, came to Afghanistan, they were welcomed wholeheartedly by a great majority of the Afghan people, in the hopes that to help Afghanistan will be liberated from the creeping invasion that had occurred in our country, and that Afghanistan would then be built primarily with the efforts of the Afghan people, but also the assistance of international community, India included. And we thank all those who have helped us. But the part because which we suffer now and has not been fulfilled was the mission, as was stated by the United States repeatedly, that their presence in Afghanistan is to fight extremism and terrorism and bring stability. That has obviously failed. Look at our condition. Look at where we are. Just a month and a half ago, more than 85 Afghan schoolgirls, young ones and teenagers were killed and claimed by the ISIS or Daesh. And Daesh emerged during the presence of the US and NATO forces and against the mission that they had proclaimed.
So you're saying mission not accomplished. Now, just a few months ago, in a letter that appeared to have been leaked, the US Secretary of State actually offered a new deal or a new suggestion or proposal to President Ghani. He said that possibly a plan for a transition government that includes Taliban officials was one way forward. Do you think that US proposal is actually a workable way to the future?
We need to have peace in Afghanistan, and we need to have stability in Afghanistan. And as a people, as a matter of fact, if it were any other society, people would be thinking about finding ways out. We don't approve the conflict. We don't approve the fighting. I strongly recommend to the Taliban that they must refrain from fighting, that this is a conflict run by outsiders, that we must not participate as Afghans in it, and try to negotiate and bring peace. So, having said this, there is no way but for us to sit down and talk. The Taliban belong to the same country as we are, and we belong to the same country as they belong to. Therefore, we must sit together, and we must not be victims of a foreign plot in which we, the Afghans, die and others reap the profits of whatever they're seeking. Therefore, a solution through whatever mechanism that brings peace to Afghanistan and stability to our nation is something that the Afghan people will wholeheartedly welcome.
Right. But even so, the foreigners, as you call them, are actually leaving. Nearly more than half of the American troops have already pulled out in the last few months. And yet the Taliban attacks continue.
They shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be doing that. That's very wrong. Right now,
where are they getting this support from? Why do you think that they continue to carry out this violence?
Of course, support comes to them from the neighborhood of Afghanistan. This has been there for a long time, and you and I have spoken often about that.
There was a report in India as well that there are still talks about not just a transition government, but some kind of a consensus government that includes various parts of the Afghan people. One of those reports actually suggested that you might be the consensus candidate, given that you have been part of several parts of the peace deal. You traveled to Moscow as well. Is that something that is in the works?
No, that's not something that I would think about. That's not something that I would seek. In that way, and if there was a talk about me leading any such arrangement, that would hurt my efforts for peace. So I don't want my efforts to be tainted that way. So I'm working for a peaceful life for the Afghan people, for myself, for my children, for my friends, for the country. And that's what I should be doing, and that's what I will do together with fellow Afghans. But in no way would I be part of any mechanism that becomes a government. No.
All right. You are expected to lead a delegation, I think lead the Grand Council delegation for talks with various groups, including a visit planned possibly to Pakistan. Do you have a sense that there has been any kind of a shift in Pakistan?
We have heard that. And we have seen that in writing as well from the Honorable Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan, and from other Pakistan officials. These statements are welcome statements. We, at the same time, hope very, very much that they are put in action and that this becomes a reality. Our expectation and our hope is that change has occurred in Pakistan. We hope that that is true, the statement that they make. And if it is true, the Afghan people will engage in all sincerity in making sure that Afghanistan and Pakistan have a good, positive, good neighborly, friendly, civilized relationship. And I emphasize and underline the term or the expression civilized relationship, which means away from the use of extremism.
What do you hope to achieve with it? And does this new foray mean that the Doha process for talks that we saw inaugurated last year has reached a dead end, an impasse?
Doha process has not been productive so far. It has not given us the results that we wanted. We hope it will. We want it to succeed. We're looking forward to meeting with the leaders of the Taliban movement. We also hope that our engagement with Pakistan, if it happens, will be one that will lead both nations to a better relationship. That is a desire of the Afghan people. And we're looking forward to substantive, real engagement on this desire.
We heard from a Qatari senior official, the special envoy as well, confirming that an Indian delegation had met with the Taliban. What is your reaction to that, and how and have you also been consulted on this process?
India is a great old friend of Afghanistan. I'm a product of Indian education, which I'm proud of and very happy about. And India has been a tremendous ally and friend to the Afghan people. I describe various reconstruction and developmental projects that India implemented in Afghanistan. I have been for a long, long time of the view that South Asia must be peaceful and that we must all live together exactly the way the European Union is now having a very profitable and free interaction among the states there. My vision is for a South Asia that's free of tension. And for that to happen, and for us to have that, how can we not recognize that India will have a role? How can we not recognize that India must be part of the processes in this region? Not only the Afghan peace process, but everything else. Therefore, I welcome India's approach to the Taliban. I think it was long overdue. I hope it has occurred. I don't have first-hand information. Either the government of India nor the Taliban have told me that, but I wish it is true.
Do you think India has had to acknowledge that the Taliban is in fact a force that they have to reckon with?
So extremism in Afghanistan in any form is going to affect the neighborhood of Afghanistan, and especially and immediately the neighborhood towards South Asia. Therefore, any engagement by India in Afghanistan or with the neighbors of Afghanistan, including with Pakistan, that brings about the reduction and the eradication of extremism and terrorism is good for all of us. And I believe that is a responsibility upon us all to fulfill.
How long will the Afghanistan democratic leadership, what are the red lines for them when it comes to engaging the Taliban? Is there a point at which you might actually say there is no point speaking to the Taliban? We fought them once, we'll fight them again.
Yes, there are clearly red lines. The red lines are a sovereign Afghanistan. It's exactly in the same way as it was towards the former Soviet Union, exactly in the same way as we reacted to the United States, aspects of their behavior in Afghanistan. Red lines are clearly a sovereign Afghanistan, an Afghanistan where the will of the Afghan people, I must repeat that, an Afghanistan where the will of the Afghan people determines the future and creates governments, an Afghanistan that is futuristically positioned, looking forward with prosperity and with rights, an Afghanistan where the people enjoy the rights that God has given to them, freedoms, and where the Afghan women have the right place in the society, as we do in all other countries, that we live happily together in unity and in peace and towards prosperity. Those are red lines that are not compromisable, and that has been amply and very, very often made clear to the Taliban, and we would continue to do that, and I would continue to do that. I have my own daughters growing up in Afghanistan. They're little girls now, but they're on their way up. They're growing. I want them to have an excellent future in their own country, to be educated, to be what they want to be, and to serve the country. And there is no compromise on that.
So even if there is an agreement between the US and Taliban, because of course we haven't seen every part of the agreement they announced last year that says women will not be in parliament, women will not be in leadership positions, is that something you would oppose?
I would definitely oppose that. Women should be in the Afghan parliament. Women should be in leadership positions. Women should be fully educated, as fully as the Afghan boys.
What specifically do you think India can do to help Afghanistan's security situation?
Well, that's a very important question. Yes, we did sign a strategic partnership agreement with India, and it was rather the first agreement that we signed with any country. And then subsequent to that, we signed it with many other countries, including the United States and Germany and other friendly countries as well. When I say Afghanistan's security is for the Afghan people to provide to our country and ourselves and to protect ourselves, I did not negate relationships or engaging in relationships. We do want to have the best relations with all those countries who wish to be our good, great friends, including the United States of America. We want to have the best of partnership with the United States of America and to live well, but that should be in a peaceful Afghanistan. Let me underline that. That should be in a peaceful Afghanistan. So for a peaceful Afghanistan, India's contribution will remain to be extremely important and rather an imperative for stability in Afghanistan, this region. That will not negate. Self-reliance is not denying engagement or interaction or strategic partnerships.
You said right at the beginning that the US has failed in its mission in Afghanistan when it comes to fighting extremism. But could I ask you, do you not think Afghanistan's leadership has failed the country as well in providing them security, in providing them unity between the leadership itself?
Well, the Afghans cannot be, we the Afghan people cannot be without responsibility in this regard. I agree with you. As far as my role is concerned, I delivered, according to the Constitution of Afghanistan, to the new government 7 years ago. And a united country, a country that was progressing, a country that was looking forward to a better future. And I still hope that all other Afghan people and the current leaders would be able to deliver that to our country.
Looking ahead at Afghanistan's future, do you feel despondent? Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel that come September, the situation could get worse or better?
This is our country, ma'am. We are the sons of the soil. It is upon us to protect it and provide it security, and through which for us to grow well and prosper. Afghanistan faced extremely difficult and very particular circumstances in the past 40 years. We've gone through a lot. We must have learned by now. We are a resilient people. And there is an immense wish in the Afghan youth to grow proudly in their own country. We must provide for our own security. We cannot depend on any outside source for our security. And we hope that our neighbors will understand that Afghanistan wishes good relationship, especially with Pakistan. Our plea, our request is recognize that the future lies in a civilized relationship between the two of us, away from extremism. So we live here and we must provide for ourselves and protect ourselves.